Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I guess it's time for leftoids to put another coin in the damn jar. It seems we've got another win for the so-called conspiracy theorists. Once again, the people who dared question the official narrative are proven right. Authorities in California have now arrested 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but close enough, and also who cares considering who this scumbag is. But they've now arrested this 29-year-old, and they're charging him with starting the Palisades fire that burned over 23,000 acres and destroyed nearly 7,000 structures and killed 12 people. And of course, that's the same fire, along with many others, that Democrat politicians and media outlets have been using as proof of the world burning, right? As AOC puts it, we've only got 9 more years to live before the world literally explodes, which she of course famously said, like 9 years ago? But obviously they've been weaponizing this stuff as another excuse to hike your taxes, to pass power-grabbing legislation, and now it appears, at least this particular incident, but likely many others, are not natural disasters at all, no, but rather man-made disasters. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at this. Here's the press conference announcing the culmination of this investigation.
Good morning. I'm Bill Asaley, the acting United States Attorney for the Central District of California. Today, we are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht for igniting a fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades earlier this year, killing 12 people, destroying more than 6,800 structures, both homes and businesses, and damaging over 1,000 more buildings. The complaint unsealed today charges the defendant with destruction of property by means of fire, a felony that carries a mandatory minimum 5-year federal prison sentence and is punishable by up to 20 years in federal prison. The defendant was arrested yesterday on a federal criminal complaint near his Florida residence, and he's expected to make his initial appearance today in the federal court in Orlando, Florida. I stress that the complaint contains allegations and every defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The allegations in the affidavit are supported by digital evidence, including the defendant's ChatGPT prompt of a dystopian painting showing in part a burning forest and a crowd fleeing from it.
Pretty freaking wild stuff, I have to admit. Officials have also released these AI-generated photos that apparently the suspect in this case generated on his computer days before committing this massive arson event. He had asked ChatGPT to generate images of a city on fire before the blaze. There's surveillance footage that puts him directly at the scene dropping off an Uber passenger, then parking at the Skull Rock trailhead. He then walks towards the ignition zone and leaves the area just as the first flames erupt. Cell phone tower data also pings him within 30 feet of where the fire began. And so remember, this wasn't even that long ago. They called you crazy for even suggesting that this could be man-made. And this has been going on for years, these very odd incidents surrounding these wildfires. But if you ever even went there, they mocked you. How dare you question the official narrative? They called you a conspiracy theorist. But now here we go again, the biggest wildfire in California's history, at least in terms of residential damage, was started by some low-life scumbag, and of course, that leads you to all kinds of new questions. Did he act on his own? Was there some sort of motive here? Was it just pure arson? Is he part of some deeper, more sinister agenda? I don't frickin' know. But what I do know is that we should have the right to be inquisitive, to ask questions, to develop theories, to investigate. And this is exactly why freedom of speech is so important. Near absolute freedom of speech. It should be a non-negotiable. Because when those in power believe that they have the right to shut down conversation by labeling it misinformation or dangerous conspiracy theory, well, the truth dies with it. When social media companies that are acting on behalf of the powers that be, the shadowy cabal behind the scenes, when they're censoring people who are simply questioning narratives, they're not protecting the public, they're protecting those in power. It's all part of the same pattern. The left weaponizes terms and more specifically labels like conspiracy theorist, denier, extremist, all to shut down dissent and keep their control of the narrative alive. Sure, sometimes people have wacky takes, they might have wacky theories, but sometimes what sounds wacky or unbelievable on the surface may actually be the truth. And most importantly, you have a God-given right to be wrong, to be inquisitive. But of course, the left doesn't believe that. No, they want to shut you down. Not because you're actually wrong or your ideas are dangerous, but for two reasons. Firstly, to establish control and shut down political dissent. That aids them in driving their agenda. And secondly, to distract from their failures. That's why they label you and try to destroy you, to protect their own asses. And that was clearly part of the conversation following these Palisade fires, because their mismanagement, their incompetence was on full display. They've neglected forest management, they've ignored firebreak maintenance, they've allowed illegal encampments in wilderness zones, they cut budgets and refocused funding and spending on DEI practices, rather than, fire response and disaster response efforts. And of course, they don't want to be held to account for all of that, so what do? Oh, all these crazy people and these crazy lying conspiracy theorists. They attempt to shut down the conversation. And if they had their way, if it was the old days, they'd have you deplatformed off the frickin' internet, back when they actually controlled social media. And that really explains the general Democrat panic these days. They don't even know how to behave anymore as the balance of power has shifted so dramatically. They used to be able to dominate these narratives and shut down dissent because they controlled every major social media platform. But not anymore, especially thanks to Elon Musk buying Twitter and renaming it X. As we know, X, Twitter, that's the arena for political ideas, and now they no longer control the arena, and so truth can finally flourish.
Much of a surprise.
No, not at all. Specifically Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you've noticed a shift here.
Oh, I would think so. I think there are a lot of folks who have been on Twitter and may have realized, wait a minute, there seem to be a lot more Republicans in my feed, especially since Elon Musk took over. And oh my goodness gracious, what a tremendous, monumental shift on the regular news consumers on Twitter/X. You go back to 2021, the party ID margin. Democrats were 37 points more likely. You were 37 points more likely to be a Democrat on Twitter or X than a Republican. Jump ahead to this side of the screen. It's completely changed around. Oh my goodness gracious. Now it's a 14-point lead for Republicans on Twitter/X. We're talking about a 51-point shift in the margin. And John and I were talking about it just before. You can see it with your own eyes. This is polling reflecting what you're seeing in the social media real world, where all of a sudden, John, you just see a lot more Republicans in your feed.
Controlling social media was their tool to control the conversation, and for years they shut us down. They didn't want certain inconvenient truths to make it to the surface. And now look, we are dominating them in the world's biggest ideological forum. And that's exactly why they want to suppress us. They want to suppress our ideas, because if we aren't shut down, we win. And so, yet again, I guess, chalk up another win for the so-called conspiracy theorists. Another story that exposes just how deeply broken the establishment is. And once again, the people who scream loudest about mis and disinformation, they're the ones who attempted to disregard, dismiss, and shut down what ended up being the actual truth. And that's got to be an eye-opening moment now, isn't it? Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.